I would like to call the Public Works and Safety Committee meeting to order on 10/17/22 at 5:30 p.m. And could you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Really partially recording.
Statement of public notice.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, roll call first.
Alderman Madden,
Here.
Alderman Terrence, Alderman Schrader,
Here.
Director Krager,
Here.
Chief Westfall.
Here.
Thank you. And statement of public notice.
Meeting was posted in accordance with public meeting laws on October 13th.
And let's start with status projects.
So big one, again, Great Water Alliance. Just to let you know, they're working on the third permit. Basically, that's all the stuff for Ryan Road. They hopefully should be done in 2 to 3 weeks with that. We have some deadlines that we have given them. October 31st, they need to have some of the utility repairs all done. November 15th, the pavement repairs along the route need to be completed. And then starting for punch list items by May 1st, 2023, 50%. By June 1st, 2023, 75%. And then July 1st, 2023, 100%. Why we have to go all the way out to 2023 is we need to make sure landscaping, start creating the punch list items. We haven't even started doing any of that yet. So, but hopefully by everything, July 1st of 2023, all punch list items for the Great Water Alliance is done. And that project would be out of our city of Muskego. Any questions?
Nope. Glad it's finally moving along. Okay, unfinished business. We have none. New business.
Sure. The first one, Muskego Moose Lodge Vision Triangle exception request. So the Muskego Moose Lodge, they are requesting a waiver for putting up their new sign in the Vision Triangle. Attached is their report that they did, which is really good. It's a great report. From our standing, talking with various different staff members, we don't have a problem with this request. They did their research, they took pictures, they showed everything. It's very thorough. I believe a couple people are here in the crowd. One gentleman is here if you do need to answer, if he needs to answer any questions for you. But from our standpoint, we do not have a problem with this waiver.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks really good. Do I have a motion?
Yes, a motion to, for the exception request.
Okay, and I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And it is accepted. All right.
Okay, moving on to number 2. This one, so please remember, what we're asking for is Public Works and Safety. When a request is to vacate a right-of-way, it goes in front of Public Works and Safety, and you get to decide whether or not you want it to be determined whether or not the city wants compensation for this vacation of right-of-way. We did one of these about a couple months ago for Madison Court where the bulb changed from one side to the other, and at that point we asked for 0. Now, to kind of give you an idea, I think if you have a picture of what this looks is, this is Kurt's Court, right off of Kurt's Lane. It's on the west side of Bass Bay. So that whole bulb would go away. Now, one thing, again, just to let you know, we will have to have some type of easement. There's a sanitary sewer that goes down there. If you vacate the right of way, you need some type of easement. At one point, I believe a development did come to front of Plan Commission where they took this huge area and they divided up to six or 7 lots. I can't remember, I think it was 6. When you do vacate an area like this, it does give the person who owns it potentially, 1, they give them a pretty big piece of land. 2, there's always potential for later down the road for developing it. And that could lead to 1, you're giving them more land, and you could potentially give them more houses for 1 or more lot, depending on their layout. So it is up to you to do that, I believe someone's here for this vacation. And again, all you guys are looking at is whether to determine whether or not you want us to, the city, to pursue some type of compensation for the vacation. It still has to go through different groups for the actual vacation. This is just whether or not you want us to pursue some type of compensation for it.
So there's just one person on this now? There's nobody on this at all?
From my understanding, there was one homeowner that was on it, and he was on the end of the bulb. The one person's now buying the entire parcel, and with buying the entire parcel, he would like to vacate this one piece, this Kurt's Court right away. Is that correct? Okay. If you do need, just come to the microphone, please. So, and I would assume you're the homeowner, the person purchasing it?
Yeah, I'm Mark Chapman. It's my wife Sherry here.
Yep.
Oh,
I think it's, yeah.
hello?
Is it on? Should be on.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, yeah. I'm Mark Chapman. My wife Sherry is here as well. We recently purchased the land there. The developer, we live just down the street on Kurt's Lane. And we saw that there were survey marks in that, so I actually called the mayor and said, hey, who's the developer? What's going on here? We've lived here 26 years. We love the street, love the lake. We didn't like the idea of having it subdivided and all that, so we were able to purchase the property there. And at this point, my wife and I plan on raising the old house that's there and just building a new private home just for she and my two boys and that. And that's really it. So I can answer any other questions you may have.
And you're requesting to vacate the right of way, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So,
And I just see that like there's just a lot of I don't know what to say. That kind of street attracts people that like to park there and do things. There have been several police reports filed and stuff like that, and just one of those things where it would be nice to have that. So our expectation is that we would maintain the pavement and all that. That would just be our driveway, and then the house at the end. Well, it will be a new house if all goes well, and that's what we're looking to do.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there'd be no need for plows to get down there and turn around?
we would not,
It
again,
would all just be
once
gone.
you vacate the right of way, we're out, except for, like I said, there's public sanitary sewer, and we need some type of easement over that public sanitary sewer. Just because it's public, we need to access it. So at some
Right.
point, like if it breaks, we need to get our guys in there. So we would just need some type of easement document. Again, not part of
This discussion.
but
Okay.
that's just a
Gotcha.
forethought that's got to come with it, so.
Okay. I'm not familiar with what any going rate is for compensation or how that works, so.
So
If
how the
there's-
process, if you guys would tell me to do the process, whether or not, usually we have a consultant that we discuss this with, similar to when we maybe purchase some conservation land or we don't, they do this, they move forward, they look at the land, they kind of look at house values, they look at everything, they create a report, and then we work back and forth and determine what type of compensation would be. That is the process.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
No, I don't have any other questions either. I would say should move forward and.
So, yeah, a motion to move forward for the compensation and the vacation of the Courtesy Court Row.
Okay, so you want me to move forward and find out a compensation?
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Righty.
right, next one, Muskego Biotech Building, Public Improvements Engineering. So that is just, again, our standard we have some public improvements out there, some sanitary sewer, some water main. We have got the plans down, approval. Why we had to wait a little longer is we had to wait to get approval from the DNR to make sure everything was okay. As we did that, I attached a set of plans. I'm not sure if anyone's been out there, but they pretty much put all the walls up in 3 days. So that building is moving quite quickly. From my understanding, I think they're looking for some type of spring occupancy for it. So just looking for approval for the set of plans.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so I will motion to approve the crosswalk pavement markings at the Woods Road and,
No.
oh, no, I'm sorry, at the biotech, I motion to approve the biotech improvements.
I'll second.
Sorry, getting ahead of myself here.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get you so excited there.
okay, we're moving on to the fourth one. Request for crosswalk pavement markings at Woods and Plum Creek Boulevard. So, kind of did, again, we have this once in a while. The request was to put pavement markings at the road. I think the best one is kind of my picture of what I had to do. So we can't just throw crosswalks up. I mean, you got to have it for ADA and other things. So what we needed to do, yep, that's perfect. Thank you. So I kind of drew in there what it would kind of be. We'd have some type of crosswalk. I needed to kind of curb cut in there, figure out some ADA, put a, like they call them, a truncated dome, using the yellow ones or browns, so that for safety reasons. Then on the other side of the road, I got to do a couple pieces of paved concrete and then have 2 more truncated domes. A very good examples. One is if you look on Hillendale Road, right by the school, they had a crosswalk there and we had to do a little bit more improvements there. Similar to that. Estimated cost about $8,000 to $10,000, just to throw that out there for you. So again, I did a study. I looked at FDM. I looked at, federal highway, all the rules about a crosswalk. Okay. So from an engineering standpoint, there's really not enough pedestrian traffic to currently or in the future to justify a crosswalk at this location. And that happens a lot unless there are major intersections. So, furthermore, the city would incur an upfront cost, $8,000 to $10,000, and we'd be obliged to maintain, which is, we have to maintain this thing. So we have to make sure it's painted. We're going around right now painting everything. We make sure everything's up to code every year. And then also too, if to give you an idea is, so if you look at Woods Road between, Woods from Racine to Moreland, which is a pretty big road going along there, lots of residential, there's only 3 crosswalks, one at the 2 intersections, and then there is one at, which is Quietwood Drive. They have a kind of a crosswalk there, but there's no ADA ramps, it's just for the connecting of the 2 paths. So again, we get these once in a while. From an engineering standpoint, there is no justification one way or another to have it. It would just cost if you wanted to kind of put this in. And this is the layout that I did. Why I kind of did it on the east side of the road, that should give enough people sight lines. I wanted to stay away from that curve on Woods Road. Does that make sense when you go to the west? So give people enough time to react, cars and people to either see cars or cars to see people when they're crossing it. And I believe the police said in the last 5 years, you had 1 reportable accident at that intersection. So I always try to check for the intersection. Now I'm happy for the 2 people who made the request. If you want to come and talk to the committee and discuss why, so.
My name is Pete Aschenbrenner, the president of the Plum Creek Homeowners Association. And one of the things I was talking to Lewis about is, I believe starting in March, the entire high school track team and cross-country team, when you say there's no traffic there, for about 5 to 6 months have requested you check with them. Runs through our subdivision. I live right on Plum Creek, right down the road from Lewis. And that's where they cross. That was a crosswalk when they put the new sidewalk in. They run straight down and they cut through our subdivision. Not a problem. We love to have the kids doing it. And second thing is, if you look at that picture, we're doing some major work up in the front up there where we cut a bunch of trees down because of that blind turning right where you're coming across. So that'd be looking south, but coming down that street, there's a blind corner to the west. And also, with the police officer here, there's a rise in the road coming from the east. So I'm glad there's only been one accident there, but you got two ways to look. One, you can't see the cars coming at you unless it's at night with the headlights. And then looking around the corner, which was a major accident there, I believe it was this spring where it was a rollover and don't know what happened. But plus we got the kids that are going to school that drive a little bit fast, as I do see them through our subdivision. And we've had numerous complaints about that. I know it's a whole totally different subject, but speed's a concern. So I was saying when I was doing all this work this spring, I was out there a good, 10 hours a week for the past 5 weeks, and I see people crossing that, coming out of the subdivision, taking dogs for a walk over there. And so I would request that somebody actually take a look at how many people do go through that and across the street. So it's got extensive use since we've got the new bike path, as I call it, in there. I mean, there was nothing there before. People were walking on the street, so definite improvement there. But I would, for safety's sake, and I know it's a lot of money to do this, I think it would help whether or not that's going to control the people driving up and down Woods Road. I don't know if they see some stripes in the road. I know what they're supposed to do, but that doesn't usually.
We would put up signs too, like crosswalk,
Right.
Ahead. I mean, that's standard stuff,
Yeah, and I did see in the notes that that they were looking at, there's none on Woods Road, and I didn't even bother to look. Obviously, there's one on Janesville, which is County Road, I believe,
Yep.
going to the park. And it's interesting, so when we watch the kids come running through, they run through the subdivision and then they go into the park and they use that crosswalk. So safety-wise, like you say, I guess I would check with the school administration and say, it's not that we don't want the kids there, it's fine, they're perfect, but it's, Lewis, 50 to 60 maybe, would you say? I don't know if you got anything else. So that's what I've got to say about it.
My name is Louis Young, and I've lived in Plum Creek for 26 years. So Pete and I have lived in Plum Creek for a long time. And I've actually thought about this for many years because I appreciate the trail that you have from a Windover Drive all the way down to the high school. So I've got a very flexible schedule. So during the day, my dog and I are coming off of Plum Creek Boulevard. We cross there and onto the trail, and then we go east and through the settlement. And I've gotten to know a lot of people in the settlement who do the same thing, but in reverse. They go from the settlement, into Plum Creek with their dog. And but like Pete said, the cross-country team, the track teams, football team, all those kids that are running, it's a lot. At least 50 or more are going through there. And I'm glad the police are here because they are not doing 35 on Woods Road. I mean, I've called the police many times on it, and I know there's a lot of places to monitor and watch speed in the city, but I can guarantee you they are not doing 35, not at all. And that is a dangerous intersection. I'm very surprised to hear that there's only been one, but there are many times my wife and we will go through the subdivision and exit Woods Road on the west side because we don't like to turn left and go east because of that dip in the road that Pete's talking about, because you look and you think you're clear, and then all of a sudden there's a car almost right on you. And even if we could fix that issue, that there's a dangerous intersection or something, but I would really hope that the committee would relook at this issue because there's a lot more pedestrian traffic there than maybe what people think. And we're just trying to prevent something. I'm always, from the business world, looking at how can we prevent things from happening rather than coming to this committee and saying, well, someone got killed, and I hope it's not me because I'm using that intersection almost every day walking through it. And somebody would have said, well, that would have been a great idea. Why didn't you tell us 2 years ago? Well, now we're speaking up, and we're hoping that, we can do something and not have to spend a lot of money, but yet have a designated area for cars to respect and the pedestrians to respect. So that's all.
Okay, I have a question. Is there any other remedy any slow caution sign or any, I mean, I know, without putting a crosswalk, can you do anything like deer crossing, like anything that would get people's attention?
I could load it up with signs, but again, as you load up with signs, how many
Well,
people pay attention to signs?
I'm not
I
even
mean,
saying
again,
load it up, but just
I know, I'm just trying.
something.
I mean, we can always look at putting different signs, sharp turn. I don't know if I can't remember if there's the one where there's an intersection, like a T with a one warning that there's an intersection coming up. Again, there's different yellow warning signs I can put up. I always like to say, be aware, the more signs you have up there, people don't pay attention as much to the signs. It's just a fact of life. I can load up more signs. If that's one direction you want me to go. I know I always put in there, like, there's an engineering study that should be done about pedestrians. I'll be honest with you, that would cost so much money and it'd be wasteful. Just, if you're gonna have me do it, just have me do it. I'd rather not waste the money on a study. I'd rather just put it in. Does that make sense to everyone on there? Because sitting out there counting pedestrians left and right, it's kind of a waste of time for just resources. I would just rather you decide and let me know, put it in or not, because I think it's just going to, cost a lot more money just for paying a consultant or for having me out there to do counts of one.
Or maybe
pedestrian.
there's a safer place for the track or cross-country people to cross that they could be directed to. I don't know.
They have their own route, and we can give them suggestions, but it's up to them. We kind of do their own route, and I'm sure they're doing it for a specific reason. I'm assuming like they have a method and methodology or reason why they're doing it one way.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years.
For years.
I mean, the same route they go through.
What it is no toxic kids, but they're going by. I think it's distance because they're cross country. So they go around, they wrap around the park once or twice and come back. So I'm sure it's a distance thing. So,
yeah.
is there any way, I mean, this is obviously very expensive to do that, to put the actual cross. Can they just put lines in the road?
The problem is, as soon as they start putting lines in the road, and someone with ADA, and I've been doing a lot of studies back and forth,
Gotcha.
you run into that issue. Or if I just put lines in the road and there's that grass area, I need some place for people to stand. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to be outside of the road a little bit. And then it opens up, because I was doing all these studies and researching, like, could I just put the lines in there? And then it's like, well, you got to have a place for a person to stand. And again, when a lot of this topic is talked about in urban areas where it's no big deal, you already have crosswalks and cut. But for here, you don't have any concrete. Similar to when we did Hill and Dale Road, when we just did it, you have to create 1 or 2 pads so a person can stand outside of traffic. And that's why I kind of like, and I got to get, like, if you're pushing a stroller, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're riding a bike, you got to have easy access back and forth onto that sidewalk. And again, we even thought about, and we didn't know for sure, down the way there's a kind of driveway path cut in there. Do you know, for a couple of those homes, there's some farmhouses there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's some driveways that are cut in, and we first thought, could we use one of those driveways? But again, those were designed for if anyone would ever develop that farm piece down there. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
I do.
So
Yeah,
we're like,
just west of that.
could we share that? You know what I mean? Then I don't have to curb cut in. So we were already spitballing ideas. Again, this is a quick sketch, but we would look at all different options. But we were like, would that work? But then we're like, is that absolutely for a driveway, and you can't really have a crosswalk into a potential driveway? Those are kind of some other things that we thought about. But ones that I'm talking about right there? Yep.
Just west of that.
Just west of there. So we were kind of like, would that save us money? Again, just different kind of ideas. And then we're kind of avoiding the inlets there and getting east of that, so you're not in a drainage area where it fills up and then people are walking through too much water as well. So, but the concept is good. It just costs a little bit more. And then the other thing too, and I always be aware, is you're not the only one that makes this request. And I get 1 or 2 of these a year. You open up a floodgate of which one do you want to do and which one you don't want to do. So but again, I'm glad you make the request. It is up to them to do it. My job is to
I say this respectfully though, but what do? Wait for someone and get hit? Because would this argument be stronger if one of our kids got hit or if I got hit and I was standing here with a broken leg, would it? carry
Well,
more
of
weight?
course,
I don't-
the arguments, that's the argument with everything. Why do signals get to intersections as soon as someone gets hurt or injured? And I'm afraid it is at times, but what you guys did, you did the right thing. You reached out to your alderman, you're at the committee, you actually showed up, you're making your case strong. We're looking at ideas. If they say, can I do some more signing? I'm willing to work with you in doing it. You're going through all the right steps. I mean, you're doing everything correctly.
What about if, does your HOA have any contribution maybe? Is there anything we could do to meet with you on this?
I think it might be a conflict of interest to do it with the city. We're paying for something to do that. I don't know. That probably wouldn't be.
Well, you could maybe run it by them. I know I was involved with the Lake Forest HOA. When people had ideas, they would talk
Honestly,
about them
my
and
wife
vote on them.
My wife and I talked about just funding it, depending upon the cost, but again, we thought, why should we pay for something that we feel the city should provide, honestly? I mean, just being 100% truthful with you. We did have that discussion, and
Right, I think what Scott's saying though, in my understanding is that this could just be people asking for things everywhere
Crosswalks everywhere.
throughout the city.
And I'm just,
Like this.
I have to share everything. We've, I've only been here 5.5 years. I think this might be the 4th or 5th request for one. So I've had one pretty much once every year. So,
My biggest concern with this is there's no stop signs there. And when you don't have a stop sign at that crosswalk, two things I've seen that happen is people start feeling very comfortable. It's a crosswalk and people must have to stop for me because it's a crosswalk. And those cars going down Woods Road, they don't see it that way. They don't even understand 35 miles an hour, let alone, oh, look, there's somebody coming, there's a crosswalk. I understand what you want. I understand your concerns.
yeah.
I think we need to maybe not do it this year, but definitely talk to the school and see what their thoughts are with that trail and maybe take a look at it again next year after we've had more information.
Yeah, because, the trail has, in my opinion, been a big hit. It's been very successful, giving people a safe alternative to walk along Woods Road. Because I know I never did that
Right.
before, and I've lived there, again, for 26 years. I forget when this went in, maybe 2015-ish, 2016.
5, 6 years.
Yeah, so it's been great, and many nights you see a lot of people walking their dogs or just out for walks, and it's good. But
One of the things that I've also noticed, obviously working down where those fenced-in areas are, so I'm very, very familiar with this. And I've seen you walking by and numerous people. There's no crosswalk, so they arbitrarily just walk.
Yep.
It's really strange because I'd be on the other side at 300 feet over to that other white fence, and there's people crossing on that side. And then this side, so, safety-wise, I just kind of keep an eye out for, people and stuff. And fortunately, like I say, nothing has happened, but it might funnel people to do it. And I know where the kids run. The kids run just north or just west of this, and they hit the street. So they go right on that pavement, and then they turn right into the subdivision where you can see the two posts up. That's where they come in. So they're in line. I mean, that's good for them, but they don't stray. But unfortunately, a lot of the other pedestrians, they might be, half a block further up or even a block further, and for safety's sake, we probably have to train them to use the crosswalk.
I was going to just say that we couldn't even guarantee that they'd use the crosswalk.
yeah,
So,
but
okay.
yeah, we appreciate it.
Okay,
All right,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
So, make a motion to not proceed with the request for the crosswalk for the pavements at Woods Road and Plum Creek and potentially look at something in the future with it.
Right. I'll second that. Okay. All in favor?
Oh, aye.
All right, new business. We have nothing on file.
Wait, one more. I got one more. Request for a three-way stop at the intersection of McShane and Coventry Lane. Okay. So I'm not sure. Do you guys understand?
I think we've had this one a few times.
Okay. So this was brought up by Alderman Wolf. DPW Ryan and myself, we met out there. We went out there and we went to go take a look at this. And one of the things, there's a couple things that are going on, and it's kind of interesting because one, we're really close to Franklin. If you're looking at that view and you look at that top of that hill there, just to the east there, that is Franklin. It's right there on the border between us. And that hill part is what's causing the problem. You come over that hill and you cannot see. You literally, it's like you're trying to make that left turn out. So first thing that we did when Ryan and I went out there, so we gave a good haircut to a lot of trees out there and even worked with a couple of residents, and one was like gracious enough and she's like, could you take that tree down? And we said, sure, not a problem. There's also a lot of signs there for entrancing into the subdivision as well as looking down both east and west. So if we haven't adjusted, we are going to adjust a bunch of signs to kind of looking at there. So there's a stop sign on Coventry. And then when you're looking out, there's no stop signs on McShane. So there is one there, which is good. That's what it's designed for. But the real issue is when you're coming down and heading west on McShane, you just cannot, it's hard to, you have to like creep out and you got to see that car. And then if you look away to your right and then come back left, that car could be over that hill already. Again, the other thing is, I believe for speed limit, we are, what are we there? We are 30, and the city of Franklin is at 25. So different speeds there. We did I think there's a speed study that was done. There have been no intersections, accidents at that intersection. I think the speed study shows that there's a little bit of speeding. Is that kind of correct?
Like we've discussed before.
Yeah.
There's always a little bit of speeding.
Yeah, correct.
And the average speed is at 36 to 37 miles an hour, which is about 7 over the limit. And I can tell you, generally speaking, you're not seeing a whole lot of, we're not conducting a lot of traffic stops at 7 over or 5 over in that particular realm.
Yeah.
But if you're, the 85th percentile is what you're really looking at, and that's 41 or 40 miles an hour. Is we want to stay between theirs, and we know that there's outliers on either side because there's either bad reading or an outlier, or there is some specific speeding that you want to pay attention to. But we're looking at that average speed and the 85th percentile, and that's within that roughly that 10 miles an hour of what is kind of ideal. Mm-hmm. I will also argue, just from my perspective, and Alderman Madden, I know you're in the same boat with this. You're going to put a sign there. And then we're going to get complaints about, well, you guys aren't enforcing the rolling stops that are going to inevitably occur at that intersection. But a haircut is probably the first step that.
And we did do that. We did that pretty good out there. And that's one thing that we'll just keep an eye on. And I'm sure that resident will just keep us letting know. But we gave it a really good haircut this time. The biggest thing, and when it comes back is, in my memo, inadequate visibility of intersection and regulatory traffic control device. What it is you're coming down that McShane and you are heading west, and that little hill causes so much trouble because it's so close to the intersection. And if you are there, it says through this whole kind of thing of what stop sign distance, a yellow warning sign would make a difference. They do. You can tell at the top of that hill, you can see easily on Google Map, here's the yellow warning sign, the intersection is ahead. The best thing that ever happened to this intersection is at one point McShane's going to be redone and hopefully be redone by Franklin. And at that time, tell them, hey, give it a haircut. Just shave off that top of the hill. And I'm not talking much, but just by doing a little bit, you would really increase your sight distances on there. But for right now, we gave it a good haircut. We trimmed everything up. I don't recommend putting a three-way stop there, but hopefully, we talked to Franklin on various projects. When they do have to do McShane, even if it's a resurfacing, if they can take it down even a couple inches, I think it'll make a huge difference. But just really maintaining the vision sight lines there at that intersection. So. Any other questions you have about, are you guys familiar with this one? It's pretty, it's one that you creep out. I'm not going to lie. You kind of creep out and you look both ways. And the one homeowner where you're looking at these evergreen trees right now in my picture, she's a new homeowner and she was worked with us pretty good about cutting trees down. Again, that's the other problem. You start cutting trees down too much, trimming up, that's not always well received as well.
Right.
So.
All right.
So I'm going to motion to deny the request for the three-way stop at the intersection of McShane and Tree Lane.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, new business. We have none on file. Any other communications or miscellaneous business from anybody? Chief is a happy guy. Okay. Then I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:06.